So let's suppose that I want to actually start a project that will allow me to connect with my database management system. All right. Gonna actually start a new project. So I'm going to use um, my commands from Eclipse. So file and then new project. Let me just show you the actual, I'll show you the um, actual, desktop, just in case you can't see my menu system. So if I do another screen share, let's just take a look together. Minimize that. Move this guy out the way. All right, so I'm gonna start a new project as follows. Gonna come up here to my Java project. This is gonna be a very simple one. So, there's not gonna be anything like unusual build classes involved or anything like that. So here we are. And now I'm gonna use my project name. So my project name is going to be H2 JDBC. All right. And I'm running my Java SE 11, but that shouldn't matter too much. Okay. So here I have JDBC and I have my sources. Okay. Now I want to have a particular library included. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my library system right there. And I'm going to add a jar. Now this jar is going to be from an external source, so I'm actually going to look for it on my browser system. Let me just search for it. It's faster that way. So if you take a look up here, I have my H2 jar right there. I'm going to throw that in my libraries. So let's just take a look at my class path. Let me just make sure it actually saw what I asked for. All right, so now you see that my H2 jar is in my class path. All right. Now going to, let's see, just want to make sure that this right here is not going to be problematic, but if it is, I'll just, change a few of the specifications. Here's my class path. Gonna finish that up. My module name. So this is going to be H2 JDBC. And module names are going to be formatted much like class name, or I should say not class names, but package names, all right? So better yet, I'll just use don't create. I don't want to have a module created. Now over here, I have my H2 JDBC, and I know it's like hooping and hollering that, there are certain things that it's not finding right off the bat, but just take a look. Right here, I have my different files for H2. These are my different packages, all right? Then I'm going to go into my source file. And in source, I'm going to create a new package. All right, so my package is going to be as follows. And just so you know, these things should be your URL backwards. All right, so if you have a URL, great. If you don't worry about it. Finished. All right, so now I'm here in my package. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create especially since I don't need a package info, I'll turn the package info part off. But I'm going to create within my package the following. Right click on the package name. And I'm going to have a new project. This is going to be a new, no, I'm sorry, not a new project, but a new class. Sorry about that. All right, so my class is going to be H2 JDBC. All right. I'll start with my method stub. And from that, I will just move forward. Okay, so here we have it. There's my method stub, public class H2JDBC. Here I have package world majority www. Actually, this should say majority of one, sorry. I know it sounds awkward, but I actually do have that access to that particular package. That particular URL. So they're going to give me an error. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm going to change the package. I'm going to move it to this particular package. All right. So all right, there we have it. Let me take this particular package out. That was a spelling error. Sorry about that. There we go. So now we have our package with our source file. So now let's get up and running. Here's what I need to do. So the first thing I need to do is to create my method, right? So I'm going to have to use my class for name. So I'm writing a sample JDBC project. Using H2. All right, so here are how the steps work. So the first step is I'm going to actually make sure that I have imported the following. I'm going to import java.sql .star. All right, they seem to be complaining a lot. Let me just make sure that they're seeing my, in my package properties, that they're seeing my runtime, no problem. So I'm just gonna right click this thing here. And I'm going to go over to my properties. Okay. I'm going to take a look at my builders, my build path. All right, let's see. You know what? I'll switch this to Java 9 then. Um, I did set it up for Java 11, but apparently they're having trouble with that. So I'm going to have to switch that out to Java 9. All right, so here's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use my Java 9, either that or Java 8. Let me just make sure that one of these is going to work as expected. Okay, so it seems like I do have now a bound version of Java. Okay, so now my errors have disappeared. Great. All right, sorry about the technical difficulties, no problem. So here goes. So now the first thing I need to do is the registering of the class, right? So going to register my class names. Register class names for use in this program. All right, coming down here, I'm going to do class.forName. And within that, I'm going to use org.h2. Just like you saw in H2 Connect right here, org.h2.driver. All right. And I should quote this. Okay, moving further down. Next thing I need to do is as follows. I'm going to create a connection. Let me just do the following. I'm going to throw some exceptions. So this throws class not found exception. All right, get rid of that. All right, great. So we're moving along now. Next thing I need to do is as follows. I'm going to set up a connection. So connection. And I'm going to call this, let's see, H2 connect. Yeah, well, I should probably call, I want to call this something like H2 throughput connect. All right, so that's a bit lengthy. All right, you know what? I'll leave it at H2 connect. All right, and this is going to be equal to, let's see, my driver manager. All right, so here's the part that I probably should discuss with you guys. I'm gonna set it equal to this driver manager, but I should actually break down what's going on here. Here goes. This should have a plus here, by the way. Well, no, let me just make sure that we're not running into errors too soon. I'll throw an SQL exception as well. Okay, so now here's what you should know. Take a look. So let's suppose that I actually were using, I believe this is Firefox, there you go. I suppose I was actually using the following, MySQL. This is just another example. That way you can see in general what's going on here. So if we had to have an example in another database management system, just so you can see the direct, right, not direct, but the general case, take a look. So here I have java.sql, all right? And now take a look down here, however. Once I get past the class 4 name, this is the name of the actual driver being used, all right? Down here, further down, when I create a connection, I have the following. I have get connection, and now take a look. They're using the actual URL that we use ourselves, but theirs is for MySQL, so they have JDBC MySQL. The one that I had for my own H2 Connect before, that was JDBC H2. All right, so that's the difference in the general case, right? So JDBC MySQL, mine was JDBC H2. Then from here on out, uh, they have a URL that in this case, they use a network URL. Mine is a file system type of URL. So I don't say things like localhost. Instead, I just use the home character in Unix. Now, if you take a look at what's going on down here, they have the username equals this, and the password equals that right there, okay? So that's what stays the same, okay? So now going back to my project, I have the same thing going on. All right. Now I also want to create a statement. So I'm going to say statement. This is going to be my statement object coming right down here. All right. The statement object is going to be attached to my connection object. So here's what I'm going to have. I'm going to have h2con. All right. And then I'm going to have my method for h2con. So the method that I had used previously was create statement. All right. Now, if you're wondering where this is coming from, let me just show you in the Java docs. All right. So far I created a connection object. All right. And my connection object has these fields, also has these here methods. The method that I used just now was create statement. Okay. And it gives me a statement object, by the way. So let me go back. And I am going to do the following. I'm sorry, wrong one. All right, create statement. All right, so now I have my statement object. Great. My next step is to now start making queries. All right, so let's take a look before I did the following. Let me just say that right here, the statement object is associated with the above connection h2con. And that's going to be for the entirety of its lifetime. All right. For the entirety of its lifespan. Okay, so now coming down here, I now have my statement object. Now, next thing I need to do is start creating strings that can be loaded into the statement. So my string query, I can actually do this no problem. I'm just going to copy and paste it. All right, that's going to be my string query. And I'm gonna actually go and make sure that gerund is, like that I delete the table person part. All right. So now after this, here's what I need to do. I'm gonna say statement. All right. I'm gonna use the following. I'm gonna use execute update. And in my execute update, I'm gonna put in the above query. So I'm just gonna write the word query. All right. So basically we're using wrapper objects. Hopefully by now you noticed. Okay. So I'm just going to write down here the strings, format strings for wrapper object. All right. And I'm gonna make this like very, very mini-ish. All right. So I'm going to then do the following. I'm just gonna close out my statement. I'm gonna close out my connection as well. So statement dot close. All right. And I'm gonna also have h2 con dot close. All right. And that's basically akin to what you saw right over here. Once I finish with my different queries, statement.close and h2 con1.close. All right. Now with that, I'm going to do the following. Down here, I already have my class and my function closing brackets. So just gonna remove some of that white space. All right. Here I have a basic program done in Java. So let me just save this. Okay. Now, here's what I need to do. I'm gonna have to build it, no problem. But I'm going to go into H2 very quickly just to make sure that, actually, you know what? To make this a bit easier, I'm actually gonna use the following. Since I've been using SAO, I'm gonna be using SAO and Kirito just to, you know, make sure that I have a new file that I did not by any means you know, use person before. So let me just go into the H2 console. I'm gonna log in and make sure that there's no such thing as person info. Okay. All right, so as you can see, there's no such thing as person info here. All right, no problem. Now here's what I need to do. I'm gonna have to exit H2 because I can't have the console open while I'm making another connection. All right. So Java, due to its like multi-threaded capabilities, they use locks to prevent that type of, you know, rewriting asynchronously by mistake. So now I have this whole thing saved. I'm gonna go to my project. All right. I'm gonna right click it. And I am going to run it as a Java application. Let's see what we get. So now the Java application is going to be H2 JDBC. Let's see what I have in my command box. Just take a look at this error. All right, let me just go up here and try to compile it again. So project, I'm gonna build my project. All right, so now that my project is built, going to run it. Let's see what I get. Um, hmm. No, that shouldn't be necessary. Okay, let's see. It shouldn't be too big of an issue, but if it is, I'll just like have to patch it up and um, weed out the problem for next time. Let's just see. Is there anything I did differently this time? I don't think so. Mm, just take a look at my configurations. All right, so that compatibility issue, I got to change that again. Java 9. Let me just see if, um, I mean, the main part, the problem is the JRE part, actually. All right, let me just go and change my project settings. Here we go. All right, great. No more warnings or errors. Great. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Let's just see. Developer path. We shouldn't be using make at all. Okay, so anywho, let me just go back to my program. And I believe they said they built it already. So let me just double check though. Okay. Now for me to actually run this thing. All right, so let's check. After we run it, we should be able to see the results of it looking into our database system. So this connection, by the way, isn't actually active. I have to create a new connection. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to my jar, H2. All right, I'm going to start that up again. Let's see what we have. And there you have it, person info. Now it exists. All right, so I know I'm running low on time. Let me just field some questions before you go though. So I'm gonna pause, field some questions.